All right. Hey there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM Show Thanksgiving edition to you, my YouTube buddies. What's going on? Bomb, bomb, bomb. Let me know in the comments. Speaking of the comments, we're going to answer some questions from the comments after Scott gets himself stretched out and ready. You got your new hoodie there.
Huh?
I haven't seen this hoodie before.
Old. The guy who does all of our new art lately.
Oh! Okay, I didn't even... Yeah. You see, you just move the...
plug them, however, if I plug them, then people will have to do work for them.
That's not going to work.
More work because he does such great work. I only want it for myself. I'm very selfish. But the talent is freaking through the roof. I mean...
Something else.
Impressed. Are you not impressed by this guy? Did you see the Chimera?
I'm not just impressed with the quality of the art, but that he actually does it. And then also that he didn't know anything about digital production of the art, of like actually getting it done, and has figured that all out. Yeah, he's something else. It's amazing, just amazing.
Yeah, I wish he lived in Oregon, but he doesn't. He lives on the absolute opposite side of the country. And, I mean, like, what he's done for the OCG page just for this Cyber Monday sales. You see those?
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, and he's killing it. It's so nice to be able to get some of that stuff. I mean, when we were working on, I can't remember what it was. I think it was the one of the feeding charts or something, and we were going to do art for it, and we were holding up because there was just, it wasn't coming. It's like, you started the art, and then 3 months before you even started the chart, we have the chart completely done, ready to print, nothing to put on the front side of it. Well, that was remember all the charts, and we were going to try to make art for those? Yeah, no, and they ended up just having the faded, the feeding chart art on there again. So, it's a mess, but it's solved now, we hope. So,
got my shine.
as you live back in the woods, you see.
Yeah, that's my microbial shine from Newton.
So, Buds McKenzie wrote a novel of questions, but they're all good questions. So, are you ready to go through it?
Off of Amazon.
What's that?
$9.99. I said I downloaded it off of Amazon. It was $9.99.
Nice. You've got that forever.
It's huge.
Huge. So, cannot compare. This is about the alkalinity issue. The alkalinity episode. This is one where we were talking about LEDs and alkalinity, and I said to you, is it different with the alkalinity with an LED issue? And you said sometimes yes, sometimes no, and we went into two circumstances where it was completely different and blew everybody's minds, and that's where this came from.
Or made him mad.
I don't think he was mad.
More than really is. What?
He says, so the OCGFAM show cannot compare commercial setups to hobby home growers when talking alkalinity, two totally different pages. In all the years of running this line on both ends, I have yet to come across a fellow grower or have one reach out to me that has had issues due to specifically to alkalinity. It's always another factor: bad metering equipment and or practices, growers cutting corners by using incompatible newts and amendments, hot soils, bad mixing processes, boiling soil pH, with fabric pots, and not to mention cut yields in half. He said there's a lot of other issues besides the alkalinity when you are talking about a home grower versus a commercial grower that presumably has everything lined out, and so they can even notice that it's alkalinity because they've got everything else working. But with a home grower, there's a lot of other issues, and also that he's never really had issues. This is not a big deal to him. How do you respond to that?
Well, and I think I've read along with you on that, and his next sentence is, but lately when swinging by local grow shops, I find myself getting almost insulted when a novice grower knocks the Nectar line after I highly recommend it. And the response is, too many alkalinity issues, too expensive. Then I find myself in a 10-minute long debate, bless your heart. Why? I take extreme pride in growing with Nectar. At least a couple times a week I'm recommending the sample kit, but lately water quality is scaring potential new customers away. Now, his next point is great. I think, so to address that piece, he's right. It's, if you happen to run into Thug Pug in Detroit at a grow shop and you happen to open up his jar of flowers and go, oh my gosh, that guy has zero alkalinity issues, zero pH issues, zero deficiency issues because his water source is key to his garden and our makeup of our nutrition.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue. When anybody sits there and says I get so tired and frustrated about getting alkalinity issues. Nectar brings out alkalinity. I bet you if you asked any of these people, define alkalinity.
Yeah. Well, I almost feel like we need a different word for it, but I would say that I think, it was a year and a half or more ago that you said, holy shit, I got to get up to see Pig. And you were like looking at this thing like, yeah, he'd had some problems, but these problems had grown into a huge opportunity. And so we've been banging.
Huge.
Yeah, so we've been banging on this for a year and a half, and instead of people, maybe it's our fault, quite possibly it's our fault, instead of seeing it as like, holy shit, this is a way to really blow it out the door, they're seeing it as, oh, this thing sucks, and they're trying to solve a problem, that is with this inherent with the line.
I think most people most people new to the line, most people just tuning in are going, oh man, these guys have been struggling with fixing their nutrition with alkalinity issues in their potting soils, and it's not the case at all. I've got customers who have so much damn alkalinity that we're on an opposite battle. I got a guy in New Hampshire, which I want to do a show with just him, you, me, and him, having a conversation and hearing he's running all LEDs, no matter what. He can't feed less than 3 times the recipe, and his pH is always above 7 because of his alkalinity in his water. His high pH, the high limestone content, all the calcite that's available to him is building up and becoming an issue. So we're trying to help people discover their water source.
Yes.
Now, with our line, your water source is very important because it's either going to react well and make things more available, it's going to combat that nutrition and make things unavailable, so we're going to help you figure out how to unlock your water to be the critical tool to make this nutrition work the best for you. If you're walking into it with it's just going to be an uphill battle and a challenge. 3-part nutrients are super dang easy. It's bloop, bloop, bloop. Just water away and grow your grass. It's fine and dandy. But our customers are truly like, Buds McKenzie. He has a passion for not only the plant, but the science behind the plant. It's the understanding what is being delivered to the plant, how it's being delivered to the plant, and when those tools are being masked or muted, how do we express those things so we can make the next step to make this an amazing plant? And that's what, I feel we've done for the last year and a half is we've been troubleshooting other people's problems. I can just walk you down the fancy road of 100% success rate because I have a whole crap ton of growers that are blowing I can guarantee you a lot of my customers, what they get for their products wholesale versus what a lot of other people are getting right now. That's my answer to you.
Yeah.
We're crushing the game with the quality level of products because we can manipulate the different elements of this line to work with the genetics these guys are working with. And so figuring out this alkalinity, pH, calcium portion of it is just another tool in the Nectar manual to help people understand how to really be successful growing flowers in your house.
You brought up something in my mind. I've been trying to remember it as you were talking. There's kind of a disconnect, I think, because I think with a lot of companies, they would never occur to them to bring up any problem with their line. They would be like bringing people in. Let's go get all the guys that killed it with this line. If they were on there, they go find someone that's killing it, and let's interview them about this. Let's not talk about any kind of issue or challenge or anything of that nature. We don't have problems with our line. We hide that stuff. And us just being us or just talking about what it is. If there was something bad going on, holy shit, guys, let's figure this out. We
put it on our sleeves. We're not, like you said, there's nothing being hidden here. We're an open book. We're the only manufacturing facility that invites the grower into their manufacturing facilities. Go, that's how we make it. Yeah. Seriously, it's like there can't be a bigger mystery here. There it is. Nobody's doing that because everybody's hiding something.
Well,
so I'm with him. I think the hard part there is if your water sucks, you're going to have a hard time with Nectar, or you have to learn how to balance your soil's structure to your water structure. And if you can't fix those two, run GH or run Botanica or whatever totally synthetic available root food you can give them. Go crazy. You know why those other companies don't have alkalinity issues? Because they're not balancing their entire nutritional program on the uptake of calcium. And since we're calcium-based, we kind of base everything on the
where it's available.
Calcium. Yeah. And then you're working with actual calcium and limestone and calcite and all the different forms that we work with, and you have crappy water with a pH of 5.7, guess what? We're going to liquefy things that shouldn't be liquefied, and we're going to enhance things that shouldn't be enhanced, and we're here to help you get through that. Now, his last point to that paragraph is create a water supply chart that basically says if your water is crap to shit, you need to do this. If it's shit to fine, you need to do this. If fine to great, and if it's great to epic, you
may need to back off a little.
And I think I think that's something that's I've made notes from that. I've been working on different emails with different growers because I have 100 growers I deal with on the regular that are either on this end of the spectrum or this end of the spectrum of great water, shitty water. And we're all coming to the middle where we're all getting the yield, the quality, and the things we need because we're taking the steps to correct their water situation. Now, their water situation and Bob's water situation, there is no recipe. Your water in Oregon is different than the water in Montana and Florida. So there is no blanket. I don't like to be the company that just says A, B, and C gives you D because it doesn't. A, B, and C might give you the color purple. Who frickin' knows? You have to get down that road to find that out.
Yeah. Well, it's a different approach, I think. Like if this show wasn't working, I wouldn't want to do it. If your nutrients weren't working, you wouldn't want to make them. But I think you have a lot of other companies that are like, how can I make this work to make me money? Not, and so it's coming at it from a different angle. They're like, well, how can we make a plant figure out how to make it work at this low pH with this shitty water, this shitty nutrient, instead of trying to figure out how to make something work for people. And I'll just likewise with the people that are using it, if it's not working for you, don't use it. This is, kind of a higher level of thing. And if that's your thing, great. And if it's not, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just, it's just different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, no, and that, move along, do your thing. We don't go around bashing all the other nutrient companies. We've seen,
except for this right here,
1,000 ways. Figure it out. Well, I'm not even bashing Botanic here because they work. They produce a very consistent flower, and they can be done very simply. Yeah. There's a plug. You want a simple, easy to use grow garden? Those product lines can be put through dosatrons, and you can set it and forget it like Ron Popeil's turkey cover. Doesn't mean you're getting the best turkey out there.
But you are getting turkey.
It's finished, and it's not a bash. GH has been around since before any of us. And they've always been successful. And they got out before any of us, so good on them.
Well, they're not dumb. They may have a different way of looking at it, but they are not dumb.
No, it's, scientifically, there's a scientific way to grow plants. There's a scientific way to feed chickens to make eggs. There's a scientific way for everything. That doesn't always mean it's the best way to do something.
The best.
It's the most efficient, most effective, most cost-effective. Well, I don't want the most cost-effective flavor. I want the best flavor. So if it means that I get the 99-cent generic flavor or the $3.99, oh my gosh, that hit the back of my tongue and now I'm dripping from my pants flavor? Yeah. That's what I want.
Well, and for a little more in defense of them, they have to look at this as how can we make $52 million selling this stuff this year? And you can't do that with something that a lot of people are not going to do it. Whereas what you're doing is you're like, I want to be this little guy.
1% that doesn't want to do that. Yeah. I'll take the $1.2 million worth of sales from this one little market that doesn't think that coughing to get off is the way you get high. Like the guys that are sitting there going, do you taste the blueberries in there? Oh my gosh! Oh wait! Oh, there's oak. Do you taste the oak on the exhale? I mean, those are our customers.
Yeah.
It's not the ones like, look how big this nugget is. It's 24%. That's not fun. Unless you're at Thanksgiving with a bunch of people you don't want to be with. But other than that, it's not fun. Yeah. So our customers know what they want. They come back because they know what they can get. And they're teaching each other for those who want to listen. Everybody else, we're not trying to sell this to the guy in the store that says the alkalinity is our problem. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
No. And you don't have to explain anything to that guy. You don't have to be ashamed or sorry for what you're doing. You're doing something different, and you don't have to feel like he's an idiot or something. He's just got a different way of looking at it. Be proud of what you're doing, happy with what you're doing. Don't worry about those guys. We're not sweating it.
It might be okay to look that guy up and down and go, you know what, you're an idiot. And
well, yeah.
You're right now because you're stupid.
Okay. I didn't know that about the alkalinity. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. You know, Peter's triple 30 has all the numbers already built in. It's 30s. Takes all the thinking right out of this. Just add a teaspoon of water. It's triple 30. And if you add 2 teaspoons, it's triple 60.
It's twice as much.
Dude.
All right. I think we got off to a good start. I hope we did. So let's see here. Was there any more questions in there? No. We got to move on. This is the question I forgot to ask you last time. This is from Ross McCulloch. And he said, what is the price of Cersei's? Is it comparable to Herc?
It should be. We're pricing it the same. So it should be the same price.
Gallon's the same as a gallon, whatever you.
Yeah.
So you don't know. Someone may be marking it up or whatever at their end, but manufacturer suggests retail price is the same.
Yeah. Our MSRP is the same as the Herc. Other people's SRP might be different.
Yeah. So do they go the same distance? I guess what I'm saying is one more powerful than the other ounce per ounce for the same cost?
You know, we need, and I think we've done it. A bone meal show, right?
Yeah, we did a whole thing about it. It was a big hit. A lot of people have watched it. But that was the main thing, is the economics we didn't really talk about.
So, I mean, yeah, bang for your buck. I don't look at it as, is it going to hold the same legs as Herc? Only because, yes, it could. Let's just say you take Herc, put it to the side, and you only use Cersei's. You're going to get a very similar outcome as far as yield, health, quality, all that. I think the biggest thing we're noticing is that it is another one of those in the pie of terpene profiles. It's grabbing this pie chunk where Herc is grabbing, I look at Herc as it really brings all of the terpenes that plant has available to it and expresses them in some form. So, I mean, you're getting the depth and the structure of all the terpenes, and it may not be like super strong one way or the other, but you're getting them all like in a lab.
Yeah.
Now, when you do the Tritons, we see that same pie that Herc gives us, but it really is focusing on the fuel, methanol and methanes, diesel-y aromas.
Yeah.
And feather meal, is giving us the really high fruity ones. But what we're noticing with the Cersei's is it's like really bringing out earthy terpene profiles. I mean, really, the GMOs, the garlic and mushrooms and genetics. Like if you have a GMO cross and there's I've had a few genetics from pig now come down where you're like, this shouldn't taste like feet, but all of this GMOs coming out on this backside from using this pig pork or the pork bone versus just the Herc by itself. So bang for your buck. I mean, I would still, Herc is my go-to. It does the most, it does the better. I think it takes out more of these parts per million during the flush. I think it has the calcium structure of cow bones, the calcium phosphate available there is just a little bit more pronounced as far as calcium phosphate. But the solubility of the Cersei's pork bone is through the roof. We're not adding the gum to it, so it's much thinner. It can go into through irrigation better. It can go through automated feeds better. And it has, a lot of guys have a lot of troubles pushing with Nectar in mid-flower because of the gum that's in Herc, and they start getting that build-up and the slow feeding rate. This has really helped us add in those extra ppms to kind of hammer feed those plants in the middle bloom without adding in that gum to slow down the drainage of the soil. So, I mean, it has a lot of benefits that Herc can't meet yet, but I think Herc altogether does better at ripening, flushing, and overall plant terpenes and aesthetics.
So it feels like with any of the nutrients in the line, there's a flavor component to it and a utility component to it, and there's a known specific utility component to Herc that may come along with this or maybe for different things, but you know for a fact that the Herc works. You're going to be okay with that, and so you would cautiously add in the other for flavor things or for solubility issues to push harder, but in concert with the known thing of the Herculean harvest. Is that what you're saying? Or?
Pretty much. I mean, in a nutshell, that's,
Okay.
I have one guy on the East Coast taking Herc and Circes and blending them together 1-to-1 in a bottle, A, to see if it blows up on him, and B, so he doesn't have to mix 2 bottles. He's narrowed it down to 1. So we'll see how that turns out for terpene profiles and what it does for structure. It helps him thin out the 1 Herc by using the Circes. So we'll kind of play with that. We'll never blend them together. We really like the idea of you having that control yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of guys there's been a few farmers out there that have had Circes now for over a year. They're in their 3rd and 4th harvest in crops, and they've learned how they can do a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 1-to-4. I mean, they're blending the different bone meals to get different terpene profiles out of their farms and sharing those results with us, and it's noticeable. And I think when we get to this level of connoisseur, recreational market, and you have all your Marlboros on the bottom shelves, but you got this top shelf of the oak barrel wine stuff, that's when we're really going to start shining, is when people are looking for, okay, great, and what do you have that has a high terpene profile, but 20% THC? Because I think we're going to see a lot more customers, at least us old bastards, we're going to want a lot more of the enjoying the flower, not the narcotic of the flower. And that's the thing. I think there's a whole era and age group of, I want to get fucked up, and there's a whole bunch of people that says, I'm tired of today. And I just want to relax, and I don't want to choke on that while I'm relaxing.
So on some level, this is a T-bone and a pork chop. You can recognize these are both meat, but they have a very different flavor to them. But beyond that, there's also utility things that are yet to be fully sussed out as to using the two together to get a different result. Okay.
Keep playing with it, but Herc would be my still go-to. I'll never ever lose Herc. Well, at this time, I would never lose Herc.
You never know. But this is the first fundamental product, new nutrient, in a very long time, it seems like. I mean... Well,
that and Chimera, honestly. I mean, once Chimera really gets figured out, that's the game changer for all these people that run pH issues in their soil. And it's I mean, I don't want to promote it because I don't want people just buying Chimera because they think it's the game changer. But if you are chronically low pH mid-bloom because your water source keeps stripping all the limestone out of your potting soil, Chimera, not only is it the correction of pH, the building in of alkalinity, but it's that soluble porcine that it's housed in that just literally becomes an instant microbe food and an instant phosphorus for the plant. And then all that correction happens, and now the plants are just put into overdrive for feeding. But you have to have the pH issue. So that's the hardest part on selling Chimera. Is don't buy it unless you absolutely need Chimera. I mean, if you don't need it, don't buy it. It's not going to help you. Push your pork bone and push your Olympus up. Try to do it that way versus trying to build it into your soil if you don't have pH issues.
Okay. Good answer. Don 1. Not Don Magic
Don
1. Not Don Magic 1. Don 1.
I don't know. He's a...
You don't know. It could be.
Too. Don 1.
Don 1 DeMarco. There's all kinds of Don 1. Yeah. So he says, any word on the Nectar microbes?
Yeah. They're coming. They are coming. The downfall, it's the registrations. When you're doing live organism registrations, it is a nightmare. And so we are approved in Oregon on the nitrogen fixing. The phosphorus fixing is going back and forth with, which is funny because it's the verbiage, even though we have all the verbiage that they asked us to, now we have to change the way we line out the verbiage.
Yeah, we don't like your attitude on this. They're probably got a little bit of a tone.
Well, if I could refer to the people who are helping us blend this and making this a product, they're helping us with the efficacy data since they do all the labbing and they get all of the data. They have all this proof, all this scientific data that they've submitted, and then the regulatory commission's like, no, that can't happen. This is an actual lab. Like, this isn't, you know.
Oh, God.
I'm sitting over here.
It's fake news.
No, this is actual spore count. This is actual living organism. These are actual fragments. Yeah, we don't accept that. It's like, oh my. So what do you want? So
just tell me what to say.
Huh?
Just tell me what to say.
Pretty much, like, well, we had to do that with our foreshot pop soil because we made a mycorrhiza claim, and so we had it labbed through the Soil Food Web, Elaine Ingham's outfit, and through Microbial Matrix. We got 2 different lab sources that actually don't even like each other, so we figure one's going to inflate it, the other one's going to bastardize it, and they both came back with very high numbers. So we took both those labs, submitted them with our registration for foreshot, sent it to the Department of Ag in California, and then they're like, well, that's impossible. And we're like, well, what do you mean it's impossible? We sent this product up to them, they gave us our spore count, they gave us our living organism, we sent it to you, and you said that's impossible. So they said, well, how much material are you adding in? So we tell them the material, and they said, well, by their label, if you add this much in, then you should only have this much, which is stating that when you buy X amount of microbes, if they're all dead and you add them to this soil and they're dead, then you should have that many microbes when we lab it. But if I take living microbes and I add it to a food source of biome and soil, and they
propagate
freaking concepts, that's why we add microbes into our potting soils, and then they quadruple in count, and we can't make that claim even though we have proof from 2 different independent labs that can. So
this is how
we're still in registration because, you know, science won't allow science to be science without science.
Well, and they probably
so we don't know what vein of science we're supposed to go down, because if we go down this vein of science, this science vein says no, but this science vein wants this piece of it's bullshit is all it is.
But also, if you gave them a white bag that said stuff on it, they'd be like, oh, fuck that.
Oh, no, we've actually had that issue. It's like, we have this, and this in here. And they're like, well, you can't say that. And it's like, erase. Okay.
How about that?
Not that. And they're like, okay, approved.
Approved.
But it's still in there. You know that.
We don't care. We have bosses.
As long as the people don't know that, that's what's fine.
As long as you don't inform anyone, we're going to be good.
Yeah.
All right. So what's up with the nectar?
Microbes are still coming. So, unfortunately, the very first person who's going to get it's going to be OCG, because we're focusing on Oregon and California registrations. Once Oregon approves it, we can start selling it out of OCGFAM.
Okay.
And out of the local Oregon market, and then we're focusing on, you know, our biggest, best customers, that retailers. So, you know, then we'll go and we'll hit Illinois, we'll hit Michigan, we'll hit Ohio, we'll hit New York and Maine, because they're going to be the ones that are going to want it in their retail stores the fastest. Distribution will probably never see this as far as like Hydro Farm or BFG.
They won't be around by the time it gets done.
They probably won't have us there. We will have effectively not sold out at that point still, and then they'll just say, sorry, you need to go.
So, best case scenario, is it still months away?
January, February, Oregon will have it, and then outside of that, you know, maybe summer 2022 will be in 10 states.
Okay.
It's a tough one, the microbes. But you'll be able to get through OCG soon. And, you know, there's a couple stores out there, you know, one that happens to do some business with us, some big guys, without naming any names. There'll be some stores out there. I'm trying to find that shirt.
Oh,
they're up there. But yeah, there'll be a handful of stores that will be able to have access to it, and we'll be able to sell it via backdoor situation as it's being registered. We just don't want anybody to get stuck on product they can't do anything with.
Sure.
It stops it, though.
Yeah.
But there's a few savvy people that know their Nectar fam enough to be like, yeah, I got a couple pounds of that Apollo in the bag. Well, shady shit, but guess what? It gets them the microbes and gets them off of the other microbes and starting to work with something that works with our line better. I said that.
Fair enough. In the interim, Microbe Life, what would you use for your microbes?
Oh, I won't ever get rid of microbe life.
Even still, you'd still be using that.
Diversity and SLF and, any compost tea you're making.
So this is an opportunity product, not a solve a problem product, to some extent.
Oh, no, this is putting all my trust in my basket and not in other people's baskets. So
you never know what they're going to do.
I know the formulation of this. I know exactly where the microbes are coming from, and I don't have to question any of it. So as long as I know what that stuff is, I don't mind hanging my hat on that kind of information. And I know how concentrated it is. I'm hoping that this product is literally going to save growers some money and not over apply it. I mean, so many people over apply the microbial. I mean, they're applying it like they kill them every day. It's like, I got to put more microbes in. Now, let's kill them. It's like, well, then don't put them in.
Well, and am I mistaken that if you can't grow your microbes like your guy's going to do, that you're buying them from here and there all over the world kind of situation?
Oh, I remember when we had that one gentleman working from us that was from India, and he had access to like global microbial companies and like very impressive companies that were making just specific bacteria and fungi, and they're in a world market. They sell it all in vacuum packed bags and ship them all over the world to a lot of different competitors and manufacturers in our industry and in other industries. And when I'm looking at these generic microbials and you get these labs done, the viability from bag to bag is, I don't know, did it go through a microwave in that shipping container?
You don't know.
Did it go through an irradiation center? Did they have to fumigate these? What does fumigation do to a microbial bag?
Well, what does sitting in a container at 135 degrees for 6 months do? And also that not just that it's good or bad, but that it's wildly inconsistent, and also that you're taking these 4 or 5 bags, pouring them into your bag. You don't know where these actually came from. All you know is they came from the UPS man.
You're trusting some guy with a smile who's telling you, this will triple your yield. Bullshit.
Yeah.
And really, knowing where mine comes right out of Santa Rosa, California.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if we know it's going to be 94 degrees and it's Tuesday, we're going to wait till it gets down to about 87 degrees, ship that up so it's here the next day, so it's not sitting on a UPS truck in a cement block for 4 days over the weekend cooking.
Yeah.
So it's knowing, I don't know, believe us or not, the reality is we actually give a shit about the things we put into our stuff, and when we start not being able to trust the resources, then we're not going to hang our hats on that.
Yeah. Well, I can say integrity all day long, but to me it's just like, I don't ever want to be in a position where I can't be proud of what I'm doing and where I'm lying and where I get caught in something. So I'm just not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Mark's not going to do it. Just disinterested in that whole thing of making money, doing something that's not cool. Yeah. All right.
Move on.
Ron Smith. Okay, I'm a little confused here. I have to use RO because the water out here in New Mexico is horrible. I don't know the pH of the tap water, but the RO water that I use is 7.2. When I go to Bloom, should I go to my tap water, which I've heard is high in calcium and lime? So specific question here about the... He says his water's terrible, but is he saying his water's terrible because it's full of calcium and lime? Or his water's terrible because...
there's arsenic attached to calcium and lime. I need to know what else is in there that makes it horrible. And like Bud McKenzie said up top, again, it's the same thing. It's knowing the whole picture of the water is going to help us with that information. There's no answer to this other than until I knew what was actually in that water source. That is like that 7.2 for RO. That's just you tested it before it reacts to anything. That reaction is going to be immediate once it hits any other element.
Anything is
going to slurry. You're going to react and become very acidic much quicker. And there's no alkalinity in RO water, so that is going to strip alkalinity out of your potting. So if you really know you have horrible water, your best bet is to stick with your RO. If your water is horrible, and then work with Chimera in the flowering cycle and maintaining your pH throughout the entire bloom cycle, with a limestone built into your potting soil versus trying to fight it with, who knows what's in that water? It's hard to say.
So if I'm making Kool-Aid with water and Kool-Aid, it tastes like Kool-Aid. If I'm making Kool-Aid with water and with Kool-Aid and Coca-Cola, I don't know what it's going to taste like. It's going to taste like cherry Coca-Cola. Is this a situation that the RO water becomes whatever you put in it much more readily? Is that what you're saying, or I don't understand?
No, I mean, the problem is if you're, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You mean as far as the chemical reaction?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bunch of free ions sitting there going, oh, what do we do? What do we do? And then something hits it, like, boom,
do that.
I mean, it's like molding itself to the new thing.
Uh-huh.
Distilled water does very similar stuff. It just is a little slower to do it.
So there's a lot about figuring out what your water is, but if you had Michigan water and cost was no object, would you use Michigan water or would you use Chimera and RO?
I would use Eastern Michigan water
over
Western Michigan water.
Yeah.
Because I know the two water sources there.
But you'd
I
rather
wouldn't use any Flint water, and I certainly wouldn't buy any water from, that scumbag Nestle.
Oh.
Who sells water to Flint from the neighboring town that he has free water rights in. So, happy days. Anyway, it really comes again down to that water source. If my parts per million of my water are 150, the pH is 7.8, I got limestone all over my mirrors, I'd be using that water.
Okay. So, and then as to that water, there is some water that is poison that you do not want to use. But there's other water that's perfectly good water. It's just got a lot of this or a lot of that or a lot of this of minerals in it that make it difficult to grow with. Is that what you're saying?
It's just what you're adding. Look at it this way. Parts per million, whether it's total dissolved solids in sodium or if it's mineral total dissolved solids or parts per million, when you have a high ppm in water, that's a lot of reactive elements that are in there, which is basically like a fertilizer. There's waters with 800 parts per million because they tapped into an old ocean seabed. That's essentially a full-blown mineral fertilizer at 800.
You could grow with that, just that.
Yeah, and it poisonously, but you could. You could grow a plant, and it's going to give it NP and maybe MG, but there might be missing all the other spectrum of that food range.
Yeah.
But a stripped down to zero water for plants isn't necessarily the best either because it's also trying to figure out how to restructure. So, like if you drank RO water yourself as a human being and that's it strictly, that's about as dangerous to you as drinking just soda pop. Because you're putting constant acids into your body, which is stripping the calcite out of your bones. So osteoporosis becomes a very real thing for you in your older age because the acids are breaking down the calcium in your body. Same thing with plants. As Buds McKenzie said, if you can't drink it, you shouldn't give it to your dang plants because it truly is that type of water structure. If you look at yours and you smell it and you're like, I wouldn't drink that. But here, let me make up some food for my plant. You just don't do that. Yeah. So there's so many points he made up in that upper post of it. That water chart is being created. It's just I have to be careful because if you put one little variant that isn't perfect for Santa Cruz Bob's grow, then I could screw up Santa Cruz Bob's grow because he's following a chart because all things said are gospel. And it's like, no, all things said are theory.
Yeah.
Literally, even scientists will tell you it's all theory.
Yeah.
And even what they've proven is a theory until you can prove that theory
This
wrong.
Is our best guess at this point, based on data. And we have
doing this is what we have not.
Yeah.
We are here 20 years later, and we're still going this direction, but we know what we're up against.
Well, they discovered a third branch of life, 15 years ago? With our kids. We're learning new things. It doesn't mean we're dumb. It just means that things change. That's why you do 800 shows instead of doing a chart.
Yeah. And then go back and quote us on show 14 and say, well, you know what else has happened?
Few things have happened since then. You thought it was bad back then. Wait. Oh, jeez. All right. Hey, here's another one from
I have so many funny things to say right now, but all of them are bad.
I can't think of anything funny to say that I can say. Another one from Rod Smith. I still do your comprehensive feed chart, but the first feed I do the Roman, next feed is the comprehensive that you came out with. How would I add this to the regimen? I don't understand the question. Do you? Next feed is the comprehensive that you get. So he's.
So I think what he's saying is he goes back and forth between Roman
Yeah,
and comprehensive, Roman and comprehensive.
I guess.
But what's in the comprehensive?
It's a couple things added to the Greek, as I remember. That was
So like our things or like other people's things?
Well, that's the thing, is that, and that's why I wanted to do a different chart, is because the comprehensive was how to use. It's kind of the Roman, but it's basically the Greek, and then adding, I think, in a couple other things to make sense with that. But it was how the comprehensive chart wasn't about the feed chart. It was about, if you're going to use Microbe Life, if you're going to use SLF, if you're going to use full on, how to use those with the line. And I think people got the impression that it was a situation of you should use all these things if you're a baller, if you're a player. But in fact, it wasn't that at all. It was just, if you're going to use this is that. Because that chart was about, I did a series of shows where I interviewed Newton and Carl and what's his name, the guy, all the different
kids.
Yeah. the other guy from Microbe Life, and then the Kowalskis and yeah, everybody. I interviewed all those guys about how to use their product with our product, and so that was what the comprehensive was. So I don't know what to say about it. It wasn't a mistake, but it was a learning thing of, like, you'd put this out there and then you see how people actually pick up on what you said, and then you maybe want to change your story a little bit, because because
I think that the downfall of the comprehensive kit isn't that it was a bad idea, or I think by itself it was a good concept for somebody who wanted to use those components
and try out those little things. You get a little sample of each one to try.
Well, that's it. I think that's the problem. Is now it's been written and now it's being taken as gospel.
Yeah.
And once that's in there, now you can't vary. It's like, oh no. Still feel free to throw in some Persephone to add this enhancement here, or oh hey, you got Circe's in. Hey, guess what, guys? We threw in 4 new products, so all this is going to get thrown out the window. We're going to remarket the entire thing, and all feeding schedules are going to change.
Yeah.
I hope not, but we got to figure out something.
Well, something's got to.
So to me, the comprehensive schedule was somebody's concept of a really good recipe as it stood right there.
Yeah.
So anything beyond that would be comprehensive plus.
Yeah.
I believe that there's very well a way to add in the extra parts of the Roman schedule to the comprehensive kit, or breaking them up a little bit and adding some of those comprehensive microbes to the Roman side, add some of the Roman, I don't know. Customizing it is your best bet. I don't know how to add that to the regiment, because there's also now more products that could be added. Maybe you shouldn't have added this question to this show.
Well, everything leads to enlightenment, I think. You just learn what you should have done.
Sometimes it leads us to Confucius.
Yeah.
To enlightenment.
But I guess what I would say is that, these were just guidelines for how to use those if you want to use those, but I'd still start out with the Spartan or the Greek or something like that and add a few things in and use one microbe until you kind of get some kind of feel for that. Maybe try another one in place of that or two, but there's no reason to use everything.
No, I get all the time. What's happening in my plants? I'm running the Spartan, the Greek regimen. I'm doing this, that, and the other. After 4 emails back and forth, I'm also using, the recharge, the mycocharge,
fish shit,
the soluble this, the fruit shine, the photo plus, the fruit and flavor enhancer,
biochar.
What you're doing is you're adding so much life. They're in there literally like a massive knife fight of 1,000 gangs, and nobody's eating because they're too busy murdering each other. Nobody knows what to do. So, hey, back off. Keep it simple, stupid. Try just 1 or 2 different microbes, or brew your own teas and make your diversity yourself. But buying your diversity isn't always the best solution.
Sure.
Buying your diversity often gives you overpopulations of one thing that are super strong, no populations in the other things, and you're creating a perfect storm of consumption.
Yeah.
I have one guy who literally cannot keep his parsimonium up above 250. And I'm like, time to just lay off the microbes for apparently your microbes are so happy and prolific. They've eaten everything. And you just have to stop eating everything. You need to build up that reserve. Once we build up the reserve, he adds microbes and they immediately colonize and his ppms just tank. So it's one of those where it's like, hey, 1 or 2 applications. If you're not killing your microbes, they will grow in your soil. if you're killing your microbes, you should be using them every other time you water because you've killed them.
Yeah.
So,
well, this K. Harrell's question kind of feeds into this. He said, could you feed normally but use full-on or SLF 100, or would that make the consumption worse? When you're using these things, are they consuming your nutrients? I mean,
they can. That's kind of the design is.
Yeah. But they make something that the plant can't eat from what they consume.
Yeah, they're eating up the slurry ppms, if you will. If you have 400 parts per million slurry, SLF will eat that. Full-on doesn't eat shit. It's nothing but it's a stimulant in a sense. It's all micronutrients and it's all nanotechnology.
It's a vitamin pill.
It's a big vitamin pill. So it doesn't do anything. You know, when Rob was promoting it, I think, and not that he's wrong by any means, but I think when he was talking about synthetic nutrient guys running full on, they could use a lot less nutrition because this was helping chelate it and making it more available.
Okay.
We already digest all our stuff, and so it doesn't make our food disappear faster. It doesn't speed up your bloom time or your flowering process because it's more in line with everything in our nutrition. The full on, it just adds in that the micronutrient piece. But with other nutrition lines, they don't have what he has in that. So it can help build, speed up the metabolism, help speed up the process of the plant, and more importantly, help pull out the negative salts or the metals out of the plant through its chemistry. It's an impressive product there, but it won't, you can totally feed normally with full on in our line. SLF just enhances the digestion of our body. So the same thing, I don't think you need to overcompensate the nutritional strength of Nectar to support SLF's life. SLF has plenty to do, and we don't have, it's not hurting our concentration. Now, if you did 3 compost teas a week and only 1 feeding a week, then you're going to be starving all the time because your microbes are going to consume everything. So you really need to feed tea, because if you're not feeding those teas, they're eating something, and they're going to deplete your food sources fast.
So you're trying to get a rich and reasonable diversity of microbes in your soil. You're not trying to hammer your soil with microbes.
Right. Yeah, diversity being the key, because it's not all about digestion. It's about root protection. It's about pathogen control. It's about disease suppression. It's about nemicides. The more beneficial diversity you have, the less likely a pathogen, a disease, or a bad bacteria microbe can move in and take control of your root zone, because you essentially put a 1,000,000-man army of every creed, color, and race of and they're all together. And so you fight that. You're not going to outcompete that beneficial.
It's a cop on every corner. It keeps things.
A cop with a Hell's Angel. It's the diversity piece, because they all have to kind of work like this to create the shield. And they're not all the same, so they're not all white cops. There's a handful of vigilantes. All the good shit that makes America right here in this ball of fucking microbes. But it really is just that diversity in there is critical, because it's not about digestion. It's about the full biomass and protecting the plant in its root zone.
Good answer. Now this is one, we've answered this question many, many times, but I know for me personally, I don't feel that it has been answered to where I completely understand it.
It's never going to be answered. It's a reference.
All right.
This might just confuse more people again.
Well, there we go. That keeps me in business. It's from Red State Rebels. Thanks for asking the question. If I use 1-shot top dress, how do I get an accurate slurry test?
Go down 2 inches instead of 1, and it goes. You're still going to get that leach through no matter what. But 1 shot, as long as you're not scooping the 1 shot into your shot glass, crushing it all into a soluble powder, then adding the water, it's not going to show you its all availability. It's going to show you what's available because it's soaked. If you let it sit for 20 minutes, it's going to be higher than if you let it sit for 5 minutes, because that's how long the water would take to go over it. So it's it's still referencing the same sense. It might be slightly elevated, but you have to just use it as a reference point that this slightly higher elevated parts per million are because you just pulled it from soil and added water to it to solubilize it. So,
but there's still that higher ppm is baked into the the soil, though, right? I mean, you
well, it's baked into this level.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So if you take your thing down here, whatever leaches through here, it's going to be there, but the plant is absorbing a lot of those parts per million. So you're not going to see, if you're at 250 one day, you add one shot, a week later you go do a slurry, it's not going to be 1,250 parts per million. It might be 450 or 500 parts per million, and it might hover in there because every time you water, it's slowly leaching that 400 to 500 into the root zone.
But I wouldn't react any differently to that 450 number than if that 450 number were genuine, would I? I mean, from some other source.
No, I mean, I think the bigger difference is that 450 all around, it might get stronger at the base because it's being pushed down further and further. I think some people might get even a little more elevated because they grab one shot in their slurry. I think the hardest part is getting it to where you're not grabbing one shot. So scrape off that top layer where you have applied the one shot and then grab your slurry. But if you're grabbing just the top inch, you're grabbing actual fertilizer to slurry. If I take an ounce of one shot and add water to it, it's going to have a high ppm.
So I'm at 125, 150, 250. I'm good. And then I put this in, I'm at 450 the next week after the one shot. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this could be the one shot. I wouldn't try to flush that out of there. I would just go with the flow. And then a couple weeks later, I'm at 650. I'm like, oh shit, something is going on, irrespective of, let's flush this out. But if it's back to 250, it's like, okay, it's evening out. I'm getting some.
No, that's it. Watch the trend on that. If week 1 it's at 450, week 2 it's at 450, week 3 it's at 450, and you fed normally, then that's your new normal.
Okay.
If it goes 455, 575, 650 after 2 weeks, and the plants start looking like crap, okay, something's wrong. Because usually, if the plants are looking healthy and you have a consistent 400 to 500 parts per million for weeks, and everything's happy, there's your reference. If it gets worse looking and they go to 500, 600, 700, or the other way around, then it's like, okay, there's a correlation between the yellowing of this plant and the 750 parts per million that the soil now weighs. And now I have to figure out, okay, now why is it doing that? Is it the pH? No, pH is fine. All right, I must have just overfed too many times. I'm going to perform a flush, get my parts per million back down in that 4 range, and everything should just skip right back to normal.
So if I saw, and this is a wild example, but if I saw 250 and the next week I see 2,500, am I not going to do anything until week 3 when I see if this is just someone poured some botanic air on there? I mean, what am I?
If the plants look fine and healthy, then I would probably take another slurry. From
what's going on?
Did I pull a hot pocket? Because you can pull hot pockets.
Yeah, okay.
So I would do a second lab. If you go from 250 to 2,500, wild example.
Yeah.
Some went horribly awry, or you just took a sample from the worst part of the pot that you could have.
Well, and you would also do all this in concert with looking at the plant itself to see if it's hurting.
Yep.
Okay.
No, to me the plant speaks. So if it's perfect and everything's happy, because that's the one thing we're finding with these LED guys is, the slurry should be 400 to 600 now.
Yeah.
And they'll be happy looking plants. If it's 400 to 200, 200 to 400, they're going to be yellow, they're going to be starving, they're going to be anemic, they're going to look like crap because they're not getting nearly the nutrition
that they need,
you're not feeding them nearly enough. So it changed that whole variant of, oh wow, more light, more intense, more energy. We need more reserves to balance that plant's health.
But it's a clue. It's not a result. This is,
No, there is no, unless you're a microbe or God, you can't, there is no result. Everything's a clue.
Well, so like if you take your pulse and it's 140, you're like, well, that's not good, but I don't know what it is yet. Let's do some more tests. Let's see, does he look like he's freaked out? Does he,
Was that a super hot chick then?
Yeah.
My boss just tell me that I'm going to be fired next week.
There you go. That's a great answer. Okay. Here we go. Herbal Jedi. I don't know why I couldn't read that. Says, can Scott talk about his ripening routine? Your ripening routine. Well, can you just give me a quick primer on ripening as a concept? When you get to the end of the road and you're starting to cut feedings back for the final flush, and it's called ripening. Why and how is it different? Is that
because we're from we come from agriculture. You don't go, hey, what's that corn farmer doing? Is he flushing? Yeah, it's flush time. Yeah, they flush all the corns. That's what we do. We flush the apple trees. You don't flush crops. That's an industry term that we've all used since the beginning of time to remove excess salts from the medium. But you're not. The promise is by flushing, you're pulling it all out of the plant that is harmful or undesirable, which, I'd like to flush out diabetes out of my mother. Not happening. No. Boy, I sure would like to flush the cancer out of my dad before he passed.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
No.
Flushing doesn't work that way. But when we look at how the plant is finishing off its end-of-life cycle, how it is finishing out its fruit to be reproduced with and showing, because everything wants to be reproduced.
Yeah.
Everything in creation wants to be bred and wants to drop seed and create its own living cycle of life forever.
Yeah.
So when we just add water for the last 10 to 14 days to flush out the bad tastes in our plants and the harmful metals and chemicals, all we're essentially doing is watering our plants to absorb water, to put that water into cells, to make things fat, but it's water. And when we cut that plant down and the water source stops and there's nothing else being forced in, that water evaporates off of the fruit. And then we end up with a lot of times larvier or terpenes that have more of a earthy hay taste or earthy fresh lawn cut taste. It's creating this thing where we are just watering it down to pull out everything we can at the very end. We don't believe in that because we know the plant is synthesizing oils, sugars, terpenes, just like fall. When you look at an apple tree and the foliage all turns red and orange and bright yellows, that's literally the chlorophyll breaking back down into sucrose and dextrose, which is converting that into usable or available sugars for the fruit. So it enhances the marketability of these apples when you take the sugar it's been using to create energy and chlorophyll, converting that into something that the fruit can take in and actually become part of its flavor source. We're looking at our plants the same way. Why are we taking our fruit, our colas, and just watering them down at the very end when we put all this money and energy into synthesizing oils and terpenes in the plant? We're going to finish that last stage off with the last bit of calcium phosphate that's creating those last bits of terpene profiles, the finish of it. So I personally I do a lot of slurries towards the very end. And at 14 days, I'll take a slurry. And if I'm in that 300 to 500 range where everything's happy, I'll feed all the way up to day 10 before harvest. So 10 days at harvest, I will do one initial Herculean flush. Usually I'll do like 2 tablespoons because I want it to be pretty aggressive to knock my ppms down a little. I do that one. Then from that point on, I just add in 1 tablespoon of Herc, 1 tablespoon of Aphrodite's for the pure carbon sugars that it's giving. And I water with that up until the last 2 days. So I essentially 8 days of anytime they need it, I give them that solution. So they're taking that calcium in, they're taking that dextrose and sucrose from the milk fat in, they're using all of that to synthesize the flavors, the oils internally in the plant. Then the last 2 days, I just want to push it out of my soil for 2 reasons. A, I don't think the plant in the last days like, okay, I just made everything taste crappy again because I sucked up the last bit of something.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
No.
I like to flush them down 2 good full days of like really good runoff because I want to recycle my soil and I want the excess in that bottom layer of my pot. I want that sodium to go away before I cut that plant down and take that soil and go to recycle it. Because if you have 1,500 parts per million down here of pushed down nutrition down in the bottom of that pot, and it's only 250 up here where I've been flushing, I'm still going to put all this concentrated stuff into the next potting soil, which I don't know what the full structure of this NPK and all the elements are. So if I kind of hit that a little harder in the last 2 days and push that out into the tray, I can get my parts per million in my soil down to like 300 to 400 parts per million at the base which makes it a lot easier and a lot cleaner to recycle that soil for the next run.
Okay. I have a question. I don't even know if this is a good question or even a sensible question, but when I get an apple, I eat it. But the herbs were going to dry out to ultimately consume that way. Is there a difference with the moisture and things like that because of that? Because we're ultimately going to dry this thing out? Is that a dumb question?
Oh, for sure. I mean, imagine, well, we do eat dried out apples. It's called dehydrated apples, and people buy into it, and you get this little tiny skinny apple versus a big fat apple. But, well, same thing with our flowers. You get a big fat flower off the vine, and when it's all done, it's this big because all the water went away. But if you've made that all with calcium and mineral, that big flower shrinks down much less because you fill it with oil. You've synthesized it because all the stuff inside internally in the plant isn't evaporatable. I mean, it doesn't evaporate because it's not a water. So I don't know.
In your opinion, it's just a different way of thinking about it than trying to starve this thing out at the end for some.
A lot of stuff happens in the last 10 days of its life, and I think we've overshadowed and overlooked it because of some misbelief that you can flush things out of things that have already been built structurally. Water is a great thing, but it's not the answer to all diseases, all metals, all vitamins. I mean,
Okay. That's a good answer. And, maybe people will have more to say about it and we can talk about it more in depth.
And, a lot of people ripen differently and a lot of people flush differently. And that's how I do it. And it's, I know a lot of the farms I get product from, that's how they do it. And it comes down to the pure depth of flavor that we get at the end. And it's that little bit of synthesizing that occurs in the plant. It's still alive. It's still taking in light. It's still transferring chlorophyll into sugar. So enhancing that at the very end when the plant's trying to make its last hurrah of beauty to get some kind of thing to come over and pollinate it. That's what plants do. They go, hey, look at me, I'm pretty. Look at my skirt. Look at my berries. And then bees come over there. Everything's happy. And the only way to really get them to do that is to get them to shine in the last part of their days.
Okay. Great answer. Johnny Dangerously. Completely unrelated to this, but I wanted to, whatever the show was that you did on, I wanted to buy a laminated feed chart on your website, which is $4, and the item shipping was over $20. What the fuck? What the actual fuck, Scott?
I'm organs only. I'm sorry. Do you have a comment for me, or do you want to
I'm off from Organs Constant Gardener. I'm sorry. There is a reason. It's because it costs that much to ship it that way. Or, in theory, someone could go take that laminated feeding chart, put it in an envelope, drive to the post office, and put it in there and get it to you for
an hour of time. The human's time. Pick up, but they're actually actively working. This comment just came up at not this comment dangerously, but they've had a few issues at OCG because they work on a platform that's controlled by a third-party designer of web store crap. So when you go through this cart, they're only calculating FedEx rates or UPS.
You can't just there's no way to
USPS as a ship it BS. So they're actually working on a different segment of their page, and it's not, these guys are farmers. They're not rocket scientists, millennials who can program and code. So they're trying to figure out a way to get USPS available shipping there so that these things are $4.95 to ship versus,
and they would
if we put it in UPS and shipped it out to you. That's what UPS would charge us. What it's really designed for, those little things. We didn't realize people were just going to go online and buy a feeding chart and a handful of stickers. That's $20 is stupid for that. They're really designed like, here's my gallon of Herc, Cersei's, Olympus.
Throw this stuff on.
The laminated feeding chart to get me above the free shipping, and then blah, blah, blah.
Well,
it's coming. It's certainly not a greed thing. It's the people making the most money on that deal is UPS.
Well, and also, you'd take Amazon or someone like that that's got a very nice shopping cart, nicer than ours, and, they have thousands of people working on that. And there's hundreds of people at Shopify, and then a couple, and Shopify has to make something that works for everyone. And so when it has to work for everyone, it can't work just for you. And then you got to go in there and try to reinvent the wheel and make their Corvette go off-road. And it's very difficult, and it's not that anyone's trying to screw you out of 20 bucks. They're trying to get you a laminated feeding chart any way they can. So it's you know, it's a tough deal.
Yep. Next time, buy 3 gallons of bone meal and just throw it in there, and it'd be the same price.
Question answered. Runboy 7426. Hey Bob, getting back onto the Nectar train and have a question. Using number 4 soil and amending with 1 shot at recommended dosage, pH of water out of the tap is 7.0. Would it be advantageous to put a little Gaia to bring the pH down to 6163 in veg, or just water straight at 7.0? I know the thing in most amended soil grows is don't pH, but really looking to optimize, keep up the good work cranking out bits. So really, you know, trying to optimize your situation, would you try to get your pH into range for a 1-shot situation?
I do, just because it's still it's a pure availability issue. And then the best part about adding just a little bit of Gaia here is you're putting those organic acids into the Gaia in the water. That water is going into this 1-shot and starting to actually hydrolyze some of those elements in that 1-shot pellet, which makes that a little more available, so the microbes don't have to do nearly the amount of digestion to make those products available for the plant to absorb. So to me, it's a win-win. At 7.0, you're at pure neutral. Your water is not going to dissolve anything, and it's not going to build anything up in your soil. It is pure water. Getting it down to 6.3, 6.4 with Gaia just enhances that ability. It's kind of a liquid microbe at that point. It actually will digest some of that 1-shot to make it more efficient to be absorbed by the plant.
So this is just a way of enhancing. You don't have to, but if you are trying to, it's a great thing to do. And that's probably the best way you would do it. You wouldn't like use Hades to bring your pH down. You would do this with the Gaia because it's going to be a double effect of bringing down the pH a little into range, but also getting everything in there kind of working together a little more liquidy instead of...
It's literally like a liquid form of 1-shot Gaia. So I mean, it's literally like going, okay, here's some... It's like a mom bird gurging up some dead worm snot for its baby. It's the same thing. It's like, here's a liquid 1-shot.
You're cooking it.
This hard 1-shot more available.
All right. Good answer. Tony Allegan.
Last question.
Last question? Okay. While using this...
Taco Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so today's...
Well, I was running out of steam too, if I'm being honest.
Huh?
I was running out of steam too. I'm sorry, I walked over you there. Tacos? You still doing tacos?
Today's Taco Wednesday for pre-Thanksgiving Taco Day.
Oh!
Starts at noon. We're at 11:30 in the morning right now. I'm hearing tables being set up. And
all right, last question then. While using this product, is it possible to become deficient or toxic in the micronutrients that are chelated? I don't know what this question was about. When you're using Nectar, I mean, is it possible that you're eating up so much stuff that you're getting your magnesium, boron, and zinc to go away? Is this a dumb question? Or I mean, just like a, not a dumb question,
no,
but
I think that this question really kind of falls into, if you're seeing these issues, then most likely the pH is what's causing the inavailability of these elements. Most of the potting soils, most composts, most worm castings have all these elements in more than your plant could ever desire. And whether or not the pH scale in the root zone is perfect would make those things more or less available. So, I mean, it's a tough question. He's saying, is it possible to become deficient or toxic?
So
everything's a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, are you using magnesium sulfate as your base nutrient? Then yeah, you could probably be toxic magnesium really fast.
But you're not eating these things up. You're accessing them from an abundant supply, well or poorly, to get those two things.
Very rarely are you going to consume all the magnesium. If you have a good, healthy potting soil, not just cocoa fiber, just a healthy potting soil with all the blends and compost and everything, nearly impossible in the lifespan of a cannabis plant to consume all of the minerals out of that soil in the time frame that it has to live. Most deficiencies or toxicities are literally because of pH imbalances. And rarely is it a toxicity unless you've added in your own I put 17 pounds of X into my 1 yard of Y, that would be the only reason that you get a toxic level is over application. But deficient is really tough because it's not because they don't have access to it, it's because they can't access it because their pH is off. Or their parts per million are so high they're locked, or you know, there's
systemic issues.
Of why, but it's never because there's a lack or, you know, if there's too much, it's your problem. You put too much in. If there's not enough, it's probably because you your pH is off somewhere.
Okay, that's the show.
That's that show. So you have to remember to go down and because you know it's Cyber Mutt Day.
Cyber Mutt Day?
Yes. Cyber Mutt Day.
So, what do you get? It's a sale. It's like Cyber Monday, except it's Cyber Mutt Day because we're dog people.
Well, it's kind of fun because
what do you
they have their little tiers. There's an additional discount. It goes from Friday, not COVID, goes to Friday to Monday. And at the different tiers, there's different gifts, and I get to play Santa. So we're not even telling you what the gifts are, but I know when I give shit, it is a different level than if somebody at OCG.
Stanley's a great man, but he is not a great giver of generosity.
You know,
he would go.
You should work for it.
Yeah, well,
like Dad. If you ain't working for it, you ain't getting it, boy.
But here's the thing: is you would give them a ridiculous prize, whereas he would not give them anything, but he would go help them build a house.
Oh, no, yeah, exactly.
He's like, I'll come on down and help you with that. Let me shovel your driveway. He's generous in that way.
I'm going to spend $20 to save this nickel. No, bless his heart, a great guy, but we are in the different tiers. There's different gifts, and it's everything from original OG Nectar hoodies. Hold on, this is pretty badass.
This is not something you want to do with a show, but hey, you know. Oh, he's back, thank God. Oh, Jesus! The back in the day hoodies. What? Holy moly!
I've got...
These don't exist anymore. These are unproducible.
Special jars.
All the stuff that's collected over the years.
I'm going through the grinders, the one-hitters, the hoodies, the hats. So it's going to be fun to be able to see the names. You know, I also know a lot of people who write in. I know who buys a lot over there. I got a couple people on hold. They know they want to place the order, but they're just waiting to see what the big gifts are going to be. But you know, Friday through Monday, the OCG team's going to be putting that on. They're closed on Black Friday. We don't believe in it. So we pay people to not come into work on Black Friday, and we encourage our customers not to come in and be home with their families instead. And buy online. OCG will be there for them.
Okay. So lots of cool presents if you buy your stuff from OCGFAM.com.
Go check them out. And then, you know, there's a few people that want to get these deals, but they want to support their local stores.
Okay.
Tough one. So, I'm secretly reaching out to those people in their stores, and I might make a deal that if their customers buy X in the store, I will send them and their customer a Black Friday special just for them to support their local stores. And we really need the local stores out there.
Yeah. Really makes it all work.
OCG is great for you guys that can't get their stores to do well with Nectar, or you live in a community that has no retail stores. We really prefer you going to
This is the backup plan.
They kind of pay my bills. I mean, OCG is awesome, but, you know, I really need you to go to Toledo Indoor. I need you to go to Upstate Hydro. I need you to go to PA Hydro. I need you to go say hi to all your store owners. Tell the Beard said hi to you. And, you know, we need those guys to stay in business, especially with the way the industry is going right now. You get to vote with your dollars. Do you want corporate weed or do you want, you know, connoisseur weed? And the only way to get the Connoisseur stuff is to go in and start talking to your local grow shops and educating them with you, and we can pretty much conquer this game together. But
Yeah.
It'll be fun. It'll be a fun weekend. What's your plan? Anything?
Nothing really. Just the daughter's about the only one going to be here. Everybody's got stuff going. What? You know, I'm a grandfather. Did I tell you this? Boo Boo. I guess I got to call her Becca now that she's a mom. Had her baby, so they're not coming up. And then so it's just going to be 3 of us here. Just me and Joy and Mom and Chrissy.
Before
4 then, yeah. And then Eric, her husband, he's got to be with his family because they just had a baby, so he's going over there. So pretty minimal plans. Pretty minimal.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Makes it easier.
We'll take it easy, yep. What do you got going?
Stanley's. Just
Oh, yeah.
Brian. Nice and quick.
The old standby.
Huh?
The old regular. The old standby way you do it, yep.
It really just keep it simple. And
Yep.
yeah, just so much going on with the work right now and all the new stuff happening and just trying to navigate the next 6 months and trying to figure out how to get things going. We're trying to make bigger things happen on the East Coast with our own movement of product. We've been working with that Midwest guy. We're going to be up at NECAM in Chicago on December 4th, 5th. I think that's a Saturday, Sunday, but that weekend, the 4th and 5th of December.
Okay.
We'll have Chris Salty there. We got Rob and Chris from Missouri or Southern Illinois there. They'll be giving out, I think we got 120 sample kits.
Nice.
That are going to go out the door in 2 days at that show. So it'd be a good show to go up and see them. They're going to have gear, stickers, all the stuff. Yeah, it's just going to be an interesting couple of weeks ahead. But we'll try to knock out a few more shows, I hope, before the end of the year.
Oh, heck
we
yeah.
should do some big Christmas thing where we do some kind of show giving shit away.
Something fun with some back and forth with, let's figure something out. Thinking caps on.
Yeah.
All right.
Comment below. Tell us what we should do.
Talk in the comments. So, all right, that's a show then, eh?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. The OCGFAM show, it's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCGFAM show. See you tomorrow.